The reigning Big 12 Player of the Year has decided to stay out of the 2025 NBA draft, even though he was possibly going to be a first-round pick and return to Texas Tech for another year of college basketball. The price tag on that, reportedly, $4 million. Assuming that is true, that would be the biggest number publicly ever connected to a college basketball player. I bring this up not because I think everybody watching and listening are huge Texas Tech and or Big 12 fans, but because JT Toppin was a consensus second-team All-American. I actually voted him first-team All-American, but for the most part, he's a consensus second-team All-American, just like Memphis guard P.J. Haggerty. So, Bennett, if JT Toppin costs $4 million, it certainly lends some credence to the idea that P.J. Haggerty really might be worth roughly $3 million at least in this market via the transfer portal. As we talked about yesterday, it's just a very, very expensive time to be trying to build college basketball rosters. And Memphis is in a situation where unless it enhances its NIL budget from where it was last year, and reportedly last year it was around $4.5 million total, unless Memphis is able to enhance that significantly, it is either going to have to spend the overwhelming majority of its budget on one player or watch that player go play basketball somewhere else.
You know, and like you look at these, like obviously if it makes sense for him to come back at that $4 million, because you would make more. Correct me if I'm wrong. He would make more in a single year with that $4 million than he would in a single year as a rookie, even though he would have more years and more money attached to a rookie deal.
Maybe, depending on where he would draft. There's a rookie scale, and I believe unless he was drafted in like the top 12, he will now make more money at Texas Tech next season than he would have made in the rookie.
Yeah, like now, Baylor Shireman, who was drafted with the last pick in the first round, he's 4 years over $12 million, but he's making like, you know, a little north of $2 million this year.
Yes. Yeah. Here's what I believe is true. I believe JT Toppin would not have been selected in the 2025 NBA draft to make more money next season than he is now going to make at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Now, there's a counter argument to that says, but if you're focused on that, you're not focused on the big picture. The most important thing is to get your clock started so that you can reach free agency. Every year you're not in the draft, it's a year later that you're going to reach free agency for the first time, and that's where your first big payday comes if you're quote-unquote betting on yourself.
Gotcha.
So by staying in school, you're delaying that possible big payday. But also, like the counter-argument to that is...
Here's $4 million right now.
That's right. Yeah. That's the counter-argument to that. Buddy, I ain't worried about my free agency clock.
Right.
You know, a year and a half ago, I was playing at New Mexico for like $30,000.
Yeah.
Okay? Somebody's offering me $4 million right now. I'll take it. And so if you're wondering why $4 million? Like, what, you know, is that really what Texas Tech had to pay? Is it really $4 million for JT Toppin? Part of the negotiation was this, I'm told. Grant McCaslin, the people in Texas Tech involved in this decision-making process, they bring in JT Toppin and his agent and the people, and you know what they say? Let's end this right now. I know you're getting ready to declare for the NBA draft while maintaining your amateur status and going through the process and going to get feedback. Let's end this now. Can we give you $4 million and you just don't declare for the draft? Don't even test the waters. Here's $4 million. You test the waters and then decide to come back.
We might not have $4 million.
We might not have $4 million, but we got it right now. Do you want this money right now? If you go test the waters, JT, I know this is the way they do it. JT, we know how good you are. If you go test the waters, you're probably going to get picked. All right? We're scared that if you go test the waters, you're going to find out they want you, and then you're going to leave. So while you go test the waters, we're going to take this money and go spend it somewhere else.
Yeah.
All right? So but we want you. How about this? How about we just give you this $4 million and let's get on with it? But if you go test the waters, I'm just telling you, I mean, we'd love to have you, but we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can wait 6 weeks for you to make a decision. Because then if you stay in the draft, then we're screwed. But we'll give you $4 million right now. Just say wreck them, enroll in some summer classes, or don't. I don't care. But don't get into the draft. Here's $4 million. If you enter the draft, it might not be here for you, but you can take it right now. How you saying no to that?
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can either.
Yeah,
I don't think you can either. When JT Toppin reasonably could have been picked 15th or 32nd, you really don't know. 15th or 32nd, you really don't know. Just take the $4 million and come back and be the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, a consensus first-team All-American. Whereas you slip to 32nd in the draft or 38th, you could be bouncing back between an NBA franchise and a G League franchise. You're on commercial flights, row 27D on a Delta flight, flying to Austin to play in front of nobody, and then you got a game in South Haven tomorrow night? Or do you want to play in front of a sold-out arena every night, every game on national television, and you're maybe the preseason National Player of the Year for $4 million?
Sounds pretty good.
Easy.
Yeah,
Easy decision. Easy decision. Now you circle back to Memphis.
Yeah.
Because this is what Memphis... These conversations, not to that degree, but like Memphis has got to be having conversations like this with PJ Haggerty. Like, what will it take for you to just tweet, I'm staying at Memphis. I'm returning to Memphis for one more season. Can we get that done right now?
And you know what? I've thought about it too, GP. Like, I told you all the reasons yesterday why, like, I hope they can get that done and why I think they will. Because we talked about, like, what does it do for the rest of your roster? I mean, that's a ton of money tied up into one player. I do think that there's also something that comes along with, like, what the rest of the college basketball world thinks about you if you're able to get that done. As in, just you're considered big time. You just are.
I think it's a little more nuanced than that. Let's just play off of the number that has been reported that Memphis was operating with in NIL last year. The number's $4.5 million. You can believe that number, not believe that number, but that number is the reported number, $4.5 million. Here's what I would tell you. Let's say that's a hard cap, and I don't think it is. I want to be clear, but let's just say we're having a hypothetical conversation right now. Let's say that Penny Hardaway has $4.5 million to spend on a roster and not a penny more. That's all that's there. It's like, think of it as a hard cap. You have $4.5 million, and that's all you can spend, not a penny more. I don't believe that's true. I'm just saying, if that were the case, and it really costs $3 million to keep PJ Haggerty, it might be smart to let him go, rather than spend $3 million of the $4.5 million you have on one player. At that point, it might be smarter to let him go. What I hope is true is that the money people connected to the program can sort of think of this as two totally different things. We need enough money to roster build after we get PJ Haggerty back. But the first step is getting PJ Haggerty back at whatever the price. And just know that this isn't going to be a thing every year, because Memphis is not going to be in a position every year to bring back a second-team All-American.
Right.
All right? So we're not going to have to do this every year. But right now, when Penny's career as a college head coach has never been in a better place, like coming off of what I believe was his best season ever, where people still want to believe that he can be the guy to take this to all the places we want it to go, we don't want to then create a situation where he loses his best player and one of the best players in the country over money. So do we really want to spend $7 million on a basketball team next season when we're only drawing like 7,000 fans a game? No, that's probably not money well spent, like if you were running a business.
Yeah.
But this isn't a normal business. This is Tiger basketball, and we have to allow Penny to keep his best player at whatever the price, and then also allow him to have enough money left over to roster build around him.
And that's
what I hope is true.
And the hope would also be that the fans would come along with that, because like I said yesterday, you have more of a connection to this team coming in. Like on paper, you're going to be good because you have one of the best players in the country, and hopefully you build around it. And as opposed to the start of this season when there wasn't as much excitement, I think going into next season, there's a lot more excitement. Like you're coming off an NCAA tournament appearance, winning the conference tournament, winning the conference regular season outright. You bring back one of the best players in the country. Now you've got some real momentum going into the season, and then you hope that the crowds come with it.
You can hope.
Yeah.
That's probably all you're doing, though. Probably just hoping. There's no evidence to support that part of it. Like
we've seen them get behind we've seen them get behind hyped up teams.
How they just had a team that got a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament and won the conference championship, and they couldn't get anybody to come to the games. I mean, you saw that, right?
I did. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that's more along the lines of the conference.
Well, the conference ain't changing.
I know.
The conference ain't changing. You know that, right? The conference ain't changing
because there was people at the big games.
Like what you're saying to me right now is,
I got it.
If Memphis has PJ Haggerty and a good team, then the crowds will follow. Memphis had PJ Haggerty and a good team this past season. The crowds did not follow. There is no evidence whatsoever that Memphians care about watching the University of Memphis play football games and basketball games against AAC competition. There's just no evidence to support it. We can all still love the Tigers and hope they do well, but like, am I going to scoop my family up and go buy 4 tickets to sit and watch Memphis play Rice? No, I'm not. I haven't, and I won't. I'm not interested in that. And there's a lot more Memphians like me than there are like the ones you're hoping for. And that's a real problem. But that's a problem independent of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, keep it in mind, and I know, like, outlier, but, like, they were playing horrible teams back in the day when they were awesome. And
different time.
A lot of people. I got it.
Different time.
I think you can get it back. That's all I'm saying. I think I think you can get that back. I do.
I do not think Memphis basketball will ever look the way Memphis basketball used to look as long as it's in this league, period.
I think that's fair. I think it can be better than last season.
Maybe, but it'll never be what it was.
Okay.
And you've lost a decade of kids. You've lost a decade of kids who, I mean, the last time Memphis was Memphis basketball, let's just speak factually. Last time Memphis was in the Sweet 16 was 2009. 16 years ago. Mm-hmm. 16 years ago. There are kids in college. There are kids at the University of Memphis right now who have no memory of John Calipari coaching the Tigers. We do.
Right.
It seems like it was just yesterday.
No, that's true.
There are University of Memphis students right now who cannot tell you about the time they remember watching Derrick Rose on television. They have no memory of that. That is a thing that you and I sitting around talking about Derrick Rose and Chris Douglas-Roberts and John Calipari is like our parents sitting around talking about Larry Finch and Gene Bartow.
Oh, my God.
Like, that's what it is.
Oh, my God.
Like
Please don't say that.
Like, that's a cool thing to talk about, but we didn't see that. There are adults right now who didn't see any of that. Something has been lost, and I'm not telling you it can't be regained. I'm just saying it will never be regained while Memphis is playing in this league. Memphis just had a top 20, let's just keep it factual. Memphis just had a top 25 football team and a top 25 basketball team. Like that, that might never happen for a lot. That's not normal to operate outside of the traditional power structure and be top 25 in those 2 sports. It's not normal. It will not be the norm. But it was true this season, and it didn't matter as far as attendance. It had no positive impact in any sort of tangible way on attendance at all. So that's my concern. And I don't mean to get off on this again. I'm just saying, what you're saying makes sense in a normal business model. Like, if we invest in this, then the fans will show up. We talked about this when it happened a few years ago. The Padres did this, right? Mm-hmm. They went out and added.
Got everybody. Machado.
They went out and bought all these players, and the mindset was, people say a market like us can't spend like this because we can't pay for it. But what if we spend like this and then the fans show up and then it's paid for?
They're paying for it, yeah.
And it actually it worked temporarily. Then the team just didn't do as well as it should have done. But, they had Juan Soto and Manny Machado and all these players. And all of a sudden the fans were filling up that park, and it was really,
right.
It really did do what you're suggesting this could do. I'm just saying in this market, there's no evidence that will work. Like, if it were as simple as if Penny has a good team, the fans will be there, then we would have seen that this past year. Mm-hmm. The fans just weren't there. You ready? The fans weren't even there as much as they were the year before. So I am not operating under the illusion that if you bring back PJ Haggerty and then roster build around him, Memphis is going to sell 15,000 season tickets or even 10,000 season tickets. I'm just saying there's nothing we can do about that. The most important thing right now, if you're an athletic department official and or a booster / business in this market who cares deeply about the program and Penny Hardaway specifically, like if you're somebody who can't stand the idea of ever getting to a day where you might have to fire Penny Hardaway, then you need to do everything you can to set him up to succeed. And the only way to do that right now is by throwing money at it. And if you put him in a position where he's got to spend the overwhelming majority of his money on one player, you're setting him up to not succeed. And so what I hope happens here is the people who have the money to actually do what we're talking about. And I don't even want to put names out there because we put a lot of pressure on these businesses. You know, this is not this is not Ohio State University.
Right.
This is the University of Memphis. It is not the wealthiest, university, certainly not in the wealthiest city. But they do have some strong corporate partners and people who care about it deeply. And thank God for those people. And so what I hope is in this weird time of chaos within college athletics, that the people recognize, the people with the power to do this recognize, we're not always going to be in a spot where we got to pay $3 million just to get an All-American player back, but that's where we're at right now. And it's what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And so maybe we're not going to be in a position to spend $7 million, $8 million on a roster every single year, but we're going to give Penny whatever he needs to bring back PJ Haggerty, and then we're going to give him enough money to roster build around him in a way where he never has to say, well, the reason we're struggling this season is because I spent 80% of my budget on one player and I couldn't put good players around him. Mm-hmm. That's not where you want to be. That's what Rutgers did this past season. They spent all of their money on 2 players and couldn't roster build around them. You've got to have better balance than that. And hopefully the community leaders who, again, have the power and the wealth to make that a reality, hopefully they come through because, again, the big headline, JT Toppin yesterday, a second-team All-American just like PJ Haggerty, he's reportedly getting $4 million to go back to school, which underlines sort of what the market will be for PJ Haggerty if he decides to truly test it.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.